What's up, guys? Welcome to the Shy Bears Blitz podcast. I'm Abdul, and I'm here with Omar. We've got a great episode for you guys today.
So we're just going to be recapping what happened last Sunday with the Bears beating the Bengals. We're just going to be talking about the game overall, as well as talking about people during that game and how they played, such as Andy Dalton going out and Justin Fields coming in and how he played. And then we're just going to be previewing next week's matchup.
All right,
against the Browns.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, let's get right into it.
Overall, it was a good game. The score does not represent how the game was. It does not at all, because the score represents it at 20-17, Bears winning. It makes it look like it was a close game. It was not a close game.
It did get kind of close towards the end. It got sort of towards that discomfort zone because they were bombing it towards the end and completing the touchdowns. And they had a chance to get the ball back. But it was definitely a very entertaining game because, I mean, our defense went crazy towards most of the game besides the end.
Yeah.
And we got to see Justin Fields go in. Unfortunately, we did see Andy Dalton get injured. Well, it doesn't look like it's a serious injury, so he should be back within like the next couple of games. But that's not bad because we all wanted Justin Fields to go in, and if Justin Fields performs, then we'll be able to keep him for the rest of the season. Because I don't think Matt Nagy will take him out if Justin Fields is who he is and performs to that high standard that everyone gives him.
I don't think so either. This was my first Bears game, so I kind of picked a good game to go to Soldier Field. It was a great experience. Best defensive performance that we've had since 2018 for sure. Because
100%.
Because 5 sacks, because Robert Quinn got credited a sack because he shoved Joe Burrow out of bounds. So 5 sacks, 3 interceptions, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery. Overall, just insane. It was a great game defensively. Offensively, in the beginning, with Andy Dalton, he moved. He drove the ball down the field. He looked pretty good on that first drive. Yep. After that, Justin Fields came in. He's a rookie. He's going to struggle a little bit. Couldn't really recognize the blitzes and like the defensive packages because they fooled him on one of the interceptions. But overall, I was pretty impressed by the defense's performance because we were looking in week 1 when we got stomped on by the Rams. It did not look good for the defense at all. And looking at the packages that Sean Desai has whipped up, looking at where he's placing Khalil Mack at left inside linebacker, placing him at these specific positions, catering to the strengths of the defense and watching them perform. It was great, albeit the Bengals aren't very like an insane offense if we're going to be talking about them. But still, overall, great performance. I was really excited about it. It did get close at the end, though.
I do think actually the Bengals have a solid offense. A lot of people don't credit their offense. I think Joey B is a really good quarterback, and they got a solid receiving core with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd.
That receiving core is definitely top 10.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't put them as a top 15
and Joe
offense.
Mixon is also a top running back if he stays healthy.
No, for
but
sure.
I mean, and we were able to shut him down. So I still think that they were a tough matchup for us because remember last week we were expecting all our secondaries to get burned, which they did towards the end. But let's just move on from the defense real quick because we'll go back right into it because I just want to talk about the QBs because that's the most important part for all of us right now. Is that I agree with you. Eddie Dalton looked good. He looked like a solid quarterback on that first drive. I mean, he gave us the touchdown to A-Rob. But the injury, because of course our offensive line was struggling in the interior. We all have seen the tackles on PFF. If you go on Twitter, it was posted everywhere, or Reddit. Our tackles are going crazy, but our interior offensive linemen like Sam Mustipher, even James Daniels and Cody Whitehair was struggling, and Andy Dalton would have to get out of the pocket and he would have to scramble and run for it. In which he
did
got
pretty
that
good with scrambling though. He had
100%.
2 carries for 25 yards like when he was rushing.
Yeah, he was looking good. He was looking good, but he did get unfortunately injured. But his stat line was 9 for 11, which is pretty good. 56 yards for 1 touchdown, and that was just for like the first drive plus a little bit extra before the injury. So it wasn't bad. And then we were able to see Justin Fields go in, and everyone was. I don't want to say that we weren't disappointed at all because I honestly think that Justin Fields did good. We were just disappointed by the outcome of what happened because Justin Fields, in my opinion, threw good balls to Darnell Mooney and to Allen Robinson. One of them was to Allen Robinson for a touchdown, which he dropped.
He had A-Rob had
There,
2.
there was one clear drop. The other one was a good defensive play, but
Mhm.
A-Rob is still a one-on-one
Yeah, he has to
receiver
get those
and
one-on-one
should be able
matchups.
to.
He has to.
He should be able to win that contested catch. That's why you could argue that one, but Donald Mooney also had that drop towards the sideline. I remember he had
I
one
mean, you
in the
could
end
you could
zone.
argue that that one was kind of on Fields because he
No,
was
no, no.
reaching out.
Yeah,
His hands were fully extended, and he only got a little bit of the ball.
I, that one was the one in the end zone. I'm talking the one that was
Oh, on the sideline, like
before
when he was
on
going
the
to the
sideline.
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 Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Mooney has to catch
That
that.
one
That
was
was
a
a good
drop.
ball. That was a really good ball.
That was a good ball. So and if you look at where the defenders are, they're tight spaces. They're you had to pinpoint it into one small window for the
Mhm.
ball to go in. And Justin Fields was able to do that, and we all had hope. And the thing is, our receivers weren't able to catch the ball and perform. So we were getting bailed out by our defense pretty much because our defense was going crazy. And Justin Fields, I thought had a decent game. Like I said, he relied on the receivers, but he did seal us the game with that rush towards the end.
Mhm.
Yeah, he did have a couple of bad plays, the fumble, the interception,
Mhm.
but he showed the hustle of getting the fumble
Yeah,
back.
that was insane. Like I'm not even gonna put that as a bad play on him because you literally there's a screenshot of Justin Fields fumbling the ball and the defender they have their hands on it and he's a couple of feet away and Justin Fields is on the ground with his hands stretched out like this and he manages to recover it. That type of hustle we do not see in the NFL. Like I can't think of there's only a couple of quarterbacks that could do that.
I mean, people will try to hustle, but like Justin Fields
He hustled for that.
knows he knows how to hustle like well. He knows how to hustle well, and that's why people think he's going to be an elite quarterback is
Mhm.
because he shows that grind and he shows that grit that if something goes wrong, he'll try his best to fix it. He
Mhm.
won't. I mean, like we could say the same thing about Mitchell Trubisky because every time Mitchell Trubisky threw an interception, he was the first person to tackle him.
Yeah,
So we
yeah,
could, we
he's
could
never
say
allowed a pick six, so I mean
yeah.
he kind of has that hustle too. But not on
Um,
the same levels. But overall, I
yeah,
thought
no,
it was
of
I
course.
thought it was a decent, all right performance because we have to take away like he had that recognized. So they're the Bengals defender they camouflaged it as a blitz, and then as soon as as soon as the ball was snapped, they fell back into coverage, and Justice Fields threw it right to them. Rookie mistake. The rookies have been having a bad couple of weeks with interceptions and recognizing defense. But it's only gonna get better as time goes on.
I don't mind this. I don't mind him making mistakes. He's a rookie. He was coming in mid game. He didn't have a full training camp with our starters. He didn't have a full training camp at all with because most of the time he was working with the backups
Mm-hmm.
on the second team and stuff. So he has a full training camp now. So I'm not worried. Him making mistakes, I've seen in the preseason Justin Fields make mistakes and he fixes it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Justin Fields will be fine. I don't mind him throwing a few interceptions here and there, as long as he learns from those mistakes, and I trust him to do so.
Yeah,
And you said they disguised that play very well, but I doubt you'll see Justin Fields fall for that again in the future.
yeah, I completely agree. I think that it's only gonna go on as time goes on. He's going to learn how to recognize defenses and he's going to improve. Like he barely got any reps with the ones, and so this is his first week of reps with the ones, and he was still trusting Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson had no separation on that touchdown pass.
Yeah.
He had no separation. He throws it, believes that his man is going to get there, and his receivers failed him last week. So hopefully he just builds up the connection, and he shows out next week.
But that's also okay because that's the game.
Yeah,
That's the game, and now that's also experience for Justin Fields. Because if your receivers aren't catching the balls that are being thrown to them, what's the next step for
yeah.
you if you want to win the game? And that's just a challenge that Justin Fields has to go over. Um, so Matt Nagy, as you were saying, he got reps with the first team. Matt Nagy, if you saw what he said that he's seen stuff with Justin Fields playing with the first team that he's never seen before in training camp. And this blew my mind because he's so dumb because you never gave him a chance to work with the first team.
No
You never
way.
gave him a
You're telling
chance.
me Justin Fields can do things if you give him a chance? Nah, you gotta be
Exactly.
lying. You're lying.
Matt Nagy every day is somehow just exceeds the level of
His coach
stupidity
speak
that
is
one
very
can
bad.
go.
I'll say his coach
It
speak
is. It
is
is.
it's terrible because like
He.
even when he announced Justin Fields as a starter, he said Andy Dalton. He didn't even say himself. He had someone in Bears PR come out and say Andy Dalton is a starter when healthy, and I think that's like his coach speak. I think what he's saying that is Justin Fields is a starter, but if he doesn't play to my expectations, if he's losing us games, if he's not doing good because other rookie quarterbacks are struggling, if Justin Fields does not play well, then it's kind of like an out for him to have Andy Dalton come back in. I don't think he
Yeah.
want. I don't believe. I think he just said that just for an out. That's it.
That too, but he also gave respect to Andy Dalton. He also gave respect to Andy Dalton. He didn't want to write Andy Dalton away
Yeah.
because Andy Dalton still did good for us. It's not like Andy Dalton did bad. Andy Dalton still did good for us. He did what the coaches told him to do. He did. He really didn't do wrong with us. I mean, like if you see him, if you watch the mic'd up, he was gassing up Justin
Yeah.
Fields when he got that first down for the game sealing play, the game sealing first down.
He's been a great
So
teamate. No, he has
he,
been a great teammate, and
that
I saw that
yeah
like a bunch of the Bears fans have started donating to his
yeah
foundation. So he's definitely appreciated. We love Fields. We're excited for Fields, but it's not that we don't hate Andy Dalton. We want him to succeed with our team, and he's been good so far.
yeah he's been good, and I mean he's been a great mentor for Justin Fields. He's everything we could have asked for. I mean, he's pretty much like his best friend, and he knows that Justin Fields is the future of the team, and he even admits that, which is something really like nice to see. Which gives me Matt Nagy likes to do that whole Patrick Mahomes and Alex Smith type, but it gives me that type of vibe between Andy Dalton and
I mean, the connection has been there since day one. Like, I mean, they're giving respect to Andy Dalton. On draft day when they draft Justin Fields, they call Andy Dalton and they say, "Hey, we're gonna draft Justin Fields." So there's been a connection of respect and being mutual all around. So I like the connection that they've been building for the past couple of months, and him being there on the side as the mentor, it's great for his development because Nick Foles, yes, he's won a Super Bowl MVP, but I think Andy Dalton has been there. And even like the film shows that like him on the sidelines, he's been there for Justin. He's been there as a mentor. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it too. I like him a lot, and I think he's a lot better mentor than Nick Foles can be. I'm not saying Nick Foles is like a bad mentor or anything. I've seen more from last year because Nick Foles was supposedly competing with Mitch, but also was supposed to kind of mentor him. But it wasn't more of like a mentorship. It was more like
A competition.
it was just more of a competition. And I just seen Andy Dalton take that step forward, and he sees that young quarterback who's going to be the future of the NFL, and he's like, all right, I'll help mold you. Like I know that's my job. I'll do that, and that's why we really appreciate him. Justin Fields, going back to him. So Andy Dalton did good. Justin Fields, I think we can both agree that he did good. It just was unlucky for him.
It
based off
didn't show up on the stat sheet because
it didn't show up on the stat.
60 yards passing, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. Also, oh my god, this one clip, it bothered me so much. Justin Fields has an open lane for a rushing touchdown, and Jimmy Graham and Cole Kmet missed their blocks.
Oh yeah. I mean, but we all know Jimmy Graham can't block.
We know Jimmy Graham can't block, but
so
we could not get anything done in the red zone with Justin Fields. Everyone was failing him. It was actually insane.
But the thing is, like, this is still new to everybody on the team. This is still new to everybody on the team. We haven't had this type of player ever, where he could bomb down the field and rush at the same time since Jay Cutler, because Jay Cutler was that type of quarterback.
Have you seen Justin Fields' throwing chart? I was kind of a little bit concerned. It's very impressive because he's attempting very deep throws and he's accurate on those deep throws. But there was lack of anything over the middle. Like it was all sideline throws. If you notice that, there was nothing over the middle.
I think that goes into Bengals defense because they were actually covering up our receivers, especially in the middle.
There was no separation at all on Sunday.
There was no separation. Our receivers were definitely not having a good game. But I mean, we know what our receivers can do, so I don't expect this to happen weekly.
Yeah, no, I think this is definitely like A-Rob has one of the best hands in the league. He should never have dropped that, and I don't expect him to have another drop like that for the rest of the season.
There is a documentary on YouTube that I highly recommend everybody to watch. It's by Overtime Season. It's
the Justin Fields documentary.
And then there was a part. there's only two parts, and there's a part where Justin Fields says that if I'm given reps to it, I'll be better. Like if I have the reps to do it, if I practice through reps, and throwing the same route to the receiver,
Mhm.
then I'll nail it 100% of the time.
Did you watch any of his post game presser when they were asking him about the interception? He explained the defensive formation and explained why he got fooled by it, and he talked about how he'll get better with time and that he understands it and that
Yeah.
he takes full acknowledgement of it, and that's what I like because I just thought about like Trubisky when he acknowledged where he would never acknowledge stuff like that, and he would say I'd have to go back and watch the film or would never break down the plays or anything like that. So I like that he's taking acknowledgement of it and he knows his mistakes and he knows that he can improve from here on out.
He's a smart guy. I mean, he's a smart quarterback. He understands formations, defensive formations. He knows how to read through receivers. So he knows how to read defenses. So I think he'll be completely fine. Um, he's definitely a high IQ quarterback. So given time, he's still a rookie. People need to understand that he's still a rookie. He'll still make a lot of mistakes, as do every rookie quarterback. I mean, we saw Zach Wilson throw for 4 interceptions. We saw Trevor Lawrence throw for like 2 or 3 interceptions.
They're
It's
both
it's
tied
it-
with the
it's
same
gonna
amount of
happen.
interceptions. I forget
Yeah,
how many of it, but the quarterbacks have not. Other than Mac Jones, he hasn't even really been impressive.
but
He's just been
Mac
throwing check
Jones has
downs.
only yeah Mac Jones has only been doing like screen passes,
Yeah,
and he has done a few good passes. But I mean, like that their offensive scheme fits perfectly with
yeah.
Mac Jones
It's
because
very QB friendly and
yeah.
system QB friendly.
So I think they're doing a good job with Mac Jones, and I think Mac Jones will still make
He's
once Mac
probably been the
Jones
best quarterback so far, just by like performance, because the other ones haven't been too great.
but once he versus like extremely solid like pass rush defense,
It's not gonna be
I
good.
think that I think he'll struggle. I think that's when his like he's gonna get exposed for it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move on to running backs because we talked a lot about the quarterbacks. Let's move on to running backs and our rushing. I thought our rush was kind of bad because
It
of
was
our offensive line play,
yeah,
but I because
but
so
also
you
play
want to
design.
hear?
Also play design. It was really just
Oh
it was
yeah,
the same play like watching it from the stands, the same play over and over again. Justin Fields RPO just straight up the middle. Justin Fields would roll out to the left, roll out to the right, and he would pass it to Monty and straight up the middle. It was very repetitive, and I knew what was going to happen every time they did that same play because they did it so many times. So I think that's why like the Monty didn't have too great of a day. But what I'd like to see is that Monty had 20 carries. Like Nagy
yeah.
is staying true to what he said.
I mean, Monty deserves it because even if you watch him get those carries, they weren't like bad carries.
Yeah,
He would still break 3 4 tackles before, and he'll still get you positive yardage. It's just the fact that our interior offensive lineman couldn't open up any holes for him
yeah,
at all.
very
He would
disappointing.
have his own holes. It was really bad. And then we saw Damian Williams have 2 carries for 6 yards. I don't know why we keep giving it to Damian Williams at times because there was a lot of though I honestly think we don't need to give it to Damian Williams at all. I actually want to see what Khalil Herbert can do.
Yeah,
I think Damian Williams should stick to the passing game. I think if we're gonna rush it, leave it to David Montgomery. And I honestly think that Khalil Herbert would be a better rusher until our interior offensive line fixes themselves for run blocking because Damian Williams is fast, but he needs a hole, and we can't create that hole for him.
mm-hmm.
Damian Williams has breakout speed, but we can't
Yeah, he
have
is
a
very
hole for him
fast.
to break out. So I think that we should just stay away with Damian Williams in the rushing game. We should use David Montgomery more, or the same amount, 20 yards per, or 20 carries is good.
Mm-hmm.
It's completely fine. But I think that he will do better. I think that it just our offensive line was just failing him.
No, I completely agree. I kind of want to see what more Khalil Herbert has to offer. I mean, he's been a great special teams player. I just like to see him more on offense because at Virginia Tech, he showed on the tape. He showed that he has some promise and he could be pretty decent. And
He sh-
uh, I think
In
that he can
preseason,
fit in. Yeah, excuse me.
he showed
Yeah,
up in preseason.
in preseason too. Overall, like I'm really impressed with him. Maybe we can get him a little bit into the passing game, have him play a little bit of the Tariq Cohen role. Monty was getting some of the receiving work. He had 3 receptions for 18 yards, so I love that because I think Monty is obviously the best back in on our team, but
Oh, 100%.
his receiving is so underrated. He's probably the third most valuable receiver on the team.
He is our best receiving back too, but the problem is we do need him to rest because we can't use him for every single play.
Yeah,
So that's why I don't mind having Damian Williams in for a few passing plays.
yeah, I'm fine with that too.
So let's move on to wide receivers, just the receiving core in general.
Hmm.
We didn't see anything from our tight ends at
Yeah,
all.
Cole
So
Kmet had
Matt,
one reception for 0 yards. That was it, and then Jimmy Graham
nothing.
had
But
nothing.
Nagy also said like he feels bad because he didn't use Cole Kmet as much, and
Hmm.
I honestly think that if we use Cole Kmet, it would have been nice because Cole Kmet can fights for yards,
Yeah.
and that's the type of thing we kind of needed. We need somebody to fight for yards.
I think that's just more on time. Like he hasn't had any reps with Cole Kmet, or very little, because he hasn't been playing with the ones. So if Justin
Yeah.
Fields builds up a connection with Cole Kmet, because Justin he loves his tight ends. He loved Jesse James
Oh,
in the
100%.
preseason.
Yeah.
So if he has, and Cole Kmet is the best tight end on this roster. So if he builds up a connection with Cole Kmet, it's gonna be great.
I agree. And Jimmy Graham, like you said, they use him in the blocking. I don't know why. I don't know why they didn't use Jesse James on that side to block because Jesse James is a solid blocking tight end. But Jimmy Graham, I don't think he should be used until we're in the red zone because
Agreed.
Jesse James I think is better right now. I think Jesse James in midfield or if we're fighting for yards, I think Jesse James is better. But in terms of being able to box out and score, no one does it better than Jimmy
Yeah,
Graham.
that's
So that's
facts.
what
That's facts.
no one does it better
I
than
don't know. I think Jimmy Graham is still the second best tight end on, like, no matter where you use him on the field, he is way less valuable in at the 50-yard line than he is on the 10-yard line.
I
He is the most valuable receiver in the red zone.
I think that we should use Jesse James though instead of Jimmy Graham. Not in the red zone. In the red zone, Jimmy
Yeah.
Graham. But just because of that connection that Justin Fields already built up previously with
Yeah.
Jesse James, because Jesse James showed himself to be a solid receiving tight end and a solid blocker. So if he works out with Justin Fields, why not?
Hmm.
Why not just use him?
And the receivers,
Uh,
Mooney had six receptions for 66 yards. Robinson had 2 for 24, with one touchdown. And overall, the receivers, they kind of had a disappointing day. But it's interesting to see that Mooney and Robinson both have the same amount of targets through 2 weeks. Did you know that?
yeah. Well, I Robinson wasn't even getting targeted at all, pretty
Yeah.
much. And in the time he did get targeted twice, that he couldn't get the ball. Mooney did get a lot of targets last game. And I think Mooney's really good besides that one drop that he had. I think Mooney deserves those targets because he burns corners and he burns safeties. And if he given the opportunity, he can make big plays. And that's what I'm hoping on seeing in the future. I don't want to see just Mooney getting sideline catches. I want to see Mooney getting touchdown catches
Yeah.
for like 60 yards. I want to see him
I want to see him
get
creating
catch them up.
separation, having some runs, some slants up the middle. I want to see everything from him.
Yeah, so I think now with Justin Fields in, we're gonna be able to see in the future more of those types of plays with Darnell Mooney. With A-Rob, they're using him more in the slot. I still think he should be getting like 10 targets per game because he is still our wide
Yeah.
receiver one and he's still extremely reliable.
Yeah.
So
Sounds
him
like the
getting
minimum.
like what? How was like 4 or 5 targets?
Yeah, I think it was about 5. Yeah,
Um,
4 or 5.
that's unacceptable. That's
Yeah,
unacceptable.
that's really bad.
Unless he
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 needs to build, he
regressed
needs to work on
and
his
be
separation though, because he was getting no separation last
well.
Sunday.
I mean,
A Rob's
Jimmy.
never known for separation though. So
Yeah, he's never known for separation. He has good route running, but the fact that he couldn't win the contested catch in the end zone is what
yeah,
baffled me.
that was disappointing.
And him dropping the ball is what baffled me too. But I think just Arab had an off day, and I mean everyone
Yeah,
has their off games, so I'm gonna write it off for now. I'm not worried about it too much. I expect him to do better.
completely agree. All right, and then we can move on to our offensive line. I don't know what the identity of this offensive line is, because week 1, the interior offensive line is playing insane, and the our tackles, Jason Peters and Jason Peters as well, Larry Bourne, were having good games. So the interior offensive line carried week 1, but week 2 they were pretty much non-existent. It was a really disappointing showing. I love our tackles. Jason Peters was 39 years old. He was fishing when Juan Castillo called him and asked him to be on the team. So he was probably going to retire. He's 39 years old. He's about to be turned 40
Yeah, he's
real
old.
soon. He's ranked as the 9th best offensive tackle per PFF, and then Jermaine Ifedi, who no one was expecting to have this good of a year, is the 11th best offensive tackle per PFF. So they're both having great years, but just that interior offensive line last week, I was kind of disappointed about it.
I mean, give props to Juan Castillo for being able to pull in Jason Peters because my man was fishing, and he is extremely old. He was retirement age, but he did good. Jason Peters did good. Jermaine Fetty did good. Sam Musford did bad. Sam Musford did horrible actually. He was just getting destroyed.
Yeah.
James Daniels and Cody White surprisingly did bad, and those two are a strength of our offensive line. They're leaders of our offensive line, and for them to be bad, they weren't as bad as Sam Musford. But the problem is, I don't know what we're gonna do if Larry Borum and Tevin what's his name?
Just Peters?
No. The Travis
Elijah
Gibson.
Wilkinson?
No, Tevin
Jenkins.
Tevin Jenkins. I'm thinking of Travis Gibson.
Yeah, he hasn't played at all or practice. So
but
I don't blame you.
Tevin Jenkins. If Tevin Jenkins and Larry Borum come back, and Larry Borum looks as good as he did when he was in against the Rams, then I don't know what we're gonna do with our offensive line. But what I think we should do is that we could move Cody White here back at that center position. We could possibly have Larry Borum at that left tackle if he's able to perform.
I want Borum at left. From what I saw, I want Borum at left tackle.
If he's still good, and if honestly Jermaine Ifedi is still doing decent at that right tackle, keep him there, and put Tevin Jenkins on the left guard, because then our offensive line I think would be extremely solid.
I think Jenkins is a true right tackle. That's why like people were concerned about him playing left tackle. He's played right tackle throughout all of college, so
he can play. I think Tevin Jenkins can play
snaps at like other positions. So he's been trying other positions.
I think he can play anywhere on the field. I just don't want him to take center snaps.
Yeah,
I don't want him to play center. I think that he'll be fine anywhere right center. But the thing is, like, if Jermaine Ifedi's bad, why would we move him? Because we still got him cheap. If Jermaine Ifedi's bad, I think we should still keep him, because I think our biggest hole right now would be Sam Mustipher, because Sam Mustipher has not done good in the past 2 games. Hopefully he picks it up. I don't know. We'll see. But I think if we were to realign our offensive line, I think that's the way we're going to have to go.
Fair. That's fair. We can move on to defense, though, and this was the best performance that we've seen, as I said, in years.
Yeah.
We had 5 sacks, 3 interceptions, and 1 forced fumble and fumble recovery. And last week, the Bears were the only team to have 2 players record over a 90-plus coverage grade in the same week, and it was Roquan Smith and Jaylon Johnson. Everyone did great, except for the secondary.
Our secondary did all right for most of the game.
Until the last 6 minutes of the game. They were
until the last 6 minutes. The game, besides Deion Bush was getting, or not Deion Bush, Duke Shelley. Duke Shelley was getting targeted a lot. I was saying Deion Bush because Tashawn Gibson got injured, and then he's probably gonna have to step into that. So that's why he was on my mind. But it was a crazy defensive performance. Eddie Jackson did really good with the strips, the strip tackle, but the problem was that he did do like a goof with Jamar Chase.
Kindle Vildor.
Yeah, and he tackled Kindle Vildor, which and it was bad by Kindle Vildor because he got burned by Jamar Chase. But overall, Jaylon Johnson, absolute demon on the corner position, just locking down everybody.
He is
had that
insane.
Trick Joe Burrow. His first interception of his career. I was very happy for him. I was a huge Jaylon Johnson guy from day one. Absolutely love him. Roquan, absolute demon too. Was literally everywhere on the field. Had a pick 6, his first pick 6. And there was that nice story between him and the fan where he gave the ball to a fan and he wished he had it back, and then the fan reached out and then Roquan gave him some goodies, and I thought that was like a sweet moment. But I'm happy for Roquan too. Roquan's getting the respect he deserves by media and by people, and he's showing by making splashy plays on the field. Our defense looked elite. Robert Quinn looked really good. He looked like how he should have been last year. Khalil Mack.
It's a little bit disappointing, but a little bit disappointing for Khalil Mack's standards. He has. I think it's he has an 11% win rate, which you got to have that higher, because The premier edge rushers are in the 20s. You have to have.
Yeah,
He needs
he
to get that up.
I think that Khalil Mack is regressing though. So
Yeah.
between Khalil Mack standards, it is bad, but he still had like a solid game.
No, he still had a good game.
He had a sack and he had like he had a few tackles, but he had a sack. Did he have any tackles?
I think it was 2 tackles maybe.
Well, I know he had like 5 quarterback hurries.
Yeah. But I know he had a great defensive performance. But to his standards, he still needs to play. But I do like the way that it's interesting how they're using Mac, how they're having him. Sometimes they're having him play as a linebacker.
Like I said last week, people were trashing on Sean Desai too much. Give the man some time. I mean, Vic Fangio the first 2 games with us did bad. The defense let up a bunch of points and we looked bad, but then he picked it back up.
Mm-hmm.
This man is running Vic Fangio's system. It's the first time as a defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Give him some time to actually learn how the pace is, the pace of being a defensive coordinator is, and once he picks it up, I think our defense will be elite. I mean, it showed flashes of 2018.
Yeah.
So I think our defense can be elite. We just need to fix our secondary first of all, because our nickel position is just god awful. Because
it is really bad. But to talk about what you were saying, talking about Jaylon Johnson's performance. So he was targeted 7 times. I don't know why Joe Burrow was throwing the ball at him. He wouldn't stop throwing the ball. Jaylon Johnson, he was targeted 7 times, allowed 2 receptions, so 28.6% completion, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's having a stellar year. On the year, he has 3 receptions, 9 targets, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, 33% completion. And he's allowed a 2.8 passer rating.
He's on pace for All Pro.
He actually is on pace for an All-Pro year.
Oh, yeah,
he has a 92.2 defensive grade versus the Bengals. Overall, he has an 87.0 defensive grade, and he's a second-ranked quarterback per PFF.
Yeah,
he is having such a great year, and he is he's probably one of the biggest bright spots other than Roquan on this team right now, and Justin Fields. He is having such a great year. I don't know why they kept targeting him. Joe Burrow would not stop targeting him. He was daring him.
I think it's because I think he just trusted his receivers because their pass rush was going quick, and he was like his first read was like T. Higgins, or probably was like a second read, but and he had to throw the ball. And I mean, just Jaylon Johnson played it right, because if you watched how Jaylon Johnson covered, he made it seem like the receiver was open sometimes, but he would actually have him covered. And when Joe Burrow would throw the ball, he'd go deflect it, because Jaylon Johnson is also a high IQ corner.
Yeah,
and he used with the interception too. He was tricking Joe Burrow. He tricks quarterbacks to throw his way, because he knows that it won't be completed. And I think that Jaylon Johnson will be a threat. And he's a future all pro. He's a future all pro.
He's easily the best cornerback from his draft. He's the best cornerback from the 2020 draft.
100%. I mean, who can you argue?
People have been trying to argue AJ Terrell, not better.
No, not a chance. CJ Henderson.
I've heard Cam Dantzler. Cam Dantzler can't even play. He's not even playing on his team. No. L'Jarius Sneed. No. Jaylon Johnson is better than all of them, and he's having such a great year.
Probably the worst quarterback I've
so that kind of sucks. I hope Jeff Okudah bounces back, but
I do too. But if you watch his first game, and then he was just getting absolutely yelled at.
He was getting yelled at because he's not doing good.
He was not doing good, and he was not doing good in training camp too. So I don't know. I just hit the mic. I don't know what's going on with Jeff Okudah.
Yeah, hopefully he recovers soon. But Jaylon Johnson, such a bright spot of this defense. And then to go on to Roquan. Roquan is the best linebacker in the NFL. I'm saying it now. He's the best linebacker in the league.
I still think he's just gonna be in that top 3.
I thought he was top 3. He's playing like the best linebacker in the league right now.
It's still early. We're only 2 games in. There's still 15 other games that we have to play. So we'll see what happens, because I mean, Fred Warner is still like.
Okay, Fred Warner. If you're saying Fred, yeah. Okay,
Fred Warner,
I should probably phrase it differently. I'll phrase it differently. He's playing like the best linebacker in the league.
He is playing like the best linebacker. He's playing like the best.
He's having the best year of any linebacker so far. And last year, in 2020, he was the best linebacker in the league. He had the best. He wasn't the best linebacker in the league last year. He had the best 2020 for any linebacker. And this year, So far, he's having the best year. He's allowing like a 58.3 passer rating. Last week he had 9 tackles, 1 sack, 1 interception, and 1 touchdown. He had all of that. He had a 90.2 defensive grade versus the Bengals. Overall, he is an 80.3 grade. And what I've been seeing this year is the only flaw with Roquan, last year at least, was his run defense, because he was middle of the pack. He was the best per all metrics, per coverage EPA. He was the best linebacker in coverage. Per hustle stops, he was the best. Pretty much in any coverage aspect, he was the best. But the only flaw that he had last year was his run defense, because he was middle of the pack in run stop win rate. This year, he's having such a great year with his run stopping, and he's clearly improving in all aspects.
Yeah, I mean, he's looked good. He's been like you said, he's been everywhere on the field.
Everywhere.
9 tackles, 1 sack, 1 interception. He's been actually everywhere. He's been rushing the passer, going in coverage, stopping the run, and he's been dominating. He's dominated everywhere. And that man will be. It should have been an All Pro last year. Should have been
He
first
should
team
have
All
been an
Pro.
All Pro. He had an All Pro
First
year
team All Pro. Yeah,
over
should have
Bobby
been first team
Wagner
All-Pro.
very easily last year.
I think he should be an All Pro this year. First team All Pro.
Yeah, Jaylon Johnson and Roquan Smith are playing like they're going to be All Pro first team.
I think Jaylon Johnson if he plays like
Jaylon Johnson, he's probably not going to get first team All Pro.
He's not going to get first team All
Pro, but he's playing.
I don't think he's going to get All Pro at all, because he's still too young, and yeah. I don't think our defense has the recognition.
I mean, he's not going to be over, because All Pro is maybe 3 like first team for cornerbacks, and then 3. I don't think
I'm saying All Pro in general.
Oh yeah, All Pro in general, because that's going to be 6 cornerbacks. Yeah. He's not going to be one of the 6 cornerbacks selected. Roquan Smith, he has a great chance to be on first team All Pro.
No, I think Roquan should be.
Roquan will definitely probably not going to make All Pro, even though on this pace he's going to have an All Pro year. At this pace, he's going to have an All Pro year, but he won't be selected.
I mean, but we never know. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see if he's still dominating. He's gonna show. A lot of people are going to see him. So, I mean, they've already been posting him all over Twitter and social media, because he's like the highest rated defender right now.
Yeah.
According to PFF.
Oh, he is the highest. Yeah. PFF has him as the highest rated defender versus single coverage. So, man coverage. And he is the best cornerback in man right now.
Roquan too in coverage has an extremely high PFF grade.
He had last week he had so I think right now his grade in coverage is an 83, but last week he had a 90 coverage grade versus the and he allowed 58.3 passer rating, which is insane, because last year he allowed a 75.8. So he's already showing like he's having a great year overall. The completion percentage is a little bit high. I think it's like 77% completion, but that's going to come with time. Just overall in coverage, run stopping, everywhere, Roquan is on the field. You can't escape him.
I agree. He's just a demon for our team. He's literally the pinnacle of our defense.
Yeah, pay him. He needs to be paid.
100%.
22 million, 21 million. I don't care.
I think they're waiting for him to get the All Pro.
Oh, I think no. It was definitely the initiated by his manager. His manager was saying, like, give him another year. Because last year, he got snubbed. He was the best linebacker last year. He got snubbed.
Because I think he'll make more money.
Yeah, I think he's going to make more money. The thing is, he's going to... So, Fred Warner's getting paid, $20 million a year? Fred Warner was chosen in the 3rd round. If you're chosen... If you're a lottery pick, if you're in the top 10, and you hit as hard as Roquan has hit, he's going to get paid. He's going to be the highest paid. He's going to get I could see 21, 22 million.
I think he deserves being the highest paid, because sure. Look at his impact on the defense. He's literally on our worst days, he's the only person on our defense doing something. Yeah. So he definitely deserves the money.
For sure. All right, so let's preview our weekend matchups. So this week we're heading over to Cleveland. So we're going to be playing the Cleveland Browns. So this is just for rushing offenses, because the Browns have arguably the best rushing offense. They have the best running back tandem. They have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Nick Chubb is one of the best running backs in the league. And the thing is, the Bears have a great run defense. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. The Bears defense is 5th in allowed rushing yards with 143, and they're 5th in yards per carry allowed, so 3.3. But the Browns offense is 3rd in rushing yards with 309, and 5th in yards per carry with 5.2. So in one of the best rushing offenses versus one of the best rushing defenses. It's going to be an interesting matchup.
This is definitely going to be a challenge for our defense, because they have an extremely good O-line with extremely good running backs. So our defensive line is gonna have to step up. Hopefully Eddie Goldman. So we have Mario Edwards coming back from the two game suspension
It's
because
looking
of
it's looking good
PEDs.
for both for Akeem because Akeem Hicks he practices in full
Akeem
on
Hicks,
Friday.
yeah, Akeem
Akeem is
Hicks only
fine.
had an illness. Yeah, so Akeem is fine. Mario Edwards is coming back, so that's a boost to our defensive line, and hopefully Eddie Goldman.
Yeah,
Hopefully Eddie Goldman is back. He wasn't practicing today, and today's Friday. And I was I'm just praying that just for like rest
caution.
because they just want him to rest. Yeah,
Mm.
and if he plays, then I honestly think that they can't run on us. They can't run on us at
I
all.
love the Browns rushing offense, but I love if we're getting Eddie Goldman, Mario Edwards, and Akeem Hicks on that rushing offense or rushing defense. I think that we can. I think we can limit them. I think that we can
Yeah,
limit the run game.
yeah.
It's just
So
a
can I.
question about the secondary and the Browns.
It is.
So Baker or the Browns or Baker Mayfield, he's attempted barely any passes. Because the run game is so dominant. So I'm interested to see OBJ is supposed to play with barring anything holding him from playing. There's going to be no Jarvis Landry, so it's going to be OBJ, Rashard Higgins, and then Schwartz, who is a rookie that they drafted out. Not a insane receiving core with Jarvis Landry out, but I think it's pretty much all in the secondary because the run defense is going to be there.
Yeah, and I think that they're going to expose their secondary.
Yeah,
Jalen Johnson, I think, will have a good game. We are missing Deshaun Gibson, which a lot of people were like, you'll see a lot of people because they don't know like a lot of what happens in that secondary unless it's just like a big play. Because people think since he missed that tackle or didn't touch the guy in the Rams, he's a bad player. Which Deshaun Gibson is, I think, is a solid player. He just made that mistake
He's
and
not
has a better.
great.
Yeah,
He's not great.
he's not. No, he's definitely
He's not
isn't great. He
great,
definitely isn't great,
but
but he's solid.
all right. He's all right.
He's
I'll
solid.
give him
No,
all right.
he's a reliable strong safety. Um, and I think he's better than Deion Bush, and I think he's better than
DeAndre Houston Carson.
DHC.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that us losing Gibson is sort of a hit. I think that Eddie Jackson.
So,
yeah, and I think that Kindle Vildor, I don't think Kindle Vildor will be able to guard OBJ if they line OBJ up on him. I think that if they target or if they put OBJ up on whoever plays in the nickel, I think that's
free yards. That's free yards for OBJ.
Free. Yeah, that's free.
Hopefully not. With our offense, it's gonna be a weird matchup for our offense. Like rushing wise, so we're 10th in rushing yards, which is kind of impressive for like the Bears, like because the Bears offense is not good at all. 10th in rushing yards, 15th in yards per carry with 4.3, and their defense is actually pretty good against the run. They're 9th in allowed rushing yards this year. So I don't know how our offense is going to perform against them. They have playmakers all over. Their secondary is very good. Their secondary is very underrated. Grant Delpit, John Johnson, Greg Newsome, Denzel Ward. They have players all over that secondary, and then also the defensive line. They have Myles Garrett, who I think is the best edge rusher in the league. They have Myles Garrett. They have Jadeveon Clowney. They have playmakers on that defense.
Yeah,
so
the defense is definitely going to be a problem,
and we have
that's definitely going to be a problem. Yeah, it's going to be a problem for Justin Fields because it's first start in the NFL. And but the thing is, on the bright side, it's in Ohio, and that's where Justin Fields dominates in. But
Justin Fields does not lose in Ohio. So.
Does not lose in Ohio at all. So that's why I think we're gonna get the dub. But on the Wheeler side, this is gonna be a tough challenge for Justin Fields because our offensive line will not hold up against that defensive line. And so he's gonna have to scramble a lot. He's gonna have to make some quick passes. He's gonna have to make some quick reads. Our receivers are gonna be tested too with that secondary. It's just gonna be a big test for our offense, and I think our offense is just a huge question mark because now that we have Justin Fields in, we don't know what to expect now because we haven't seen really Justin Fields start. We haven't seen him have a training camp with our first team, so we don't know what he's capable of for the offense. So right now, how I see it, I was about to say the Rams, the Browns defense is extremely solid, and it's just going to be a huge problem for a rookie quarterback. And I think that Justin Fields is going to make a lot of mistakes that people aren't expecting, and they're going to be pretty ugly. It's going to be pretty ugly. But I still think that Justin Fields will perform well. I think that Justin Fields might throw a couple of interceptions. I think he might have a fumble, but I also think that he'll come back with a few touchdowns. I think that they'll use him a lot in the run. I think that he'll have probably like a rushing touchdown. Because Matt Nagy likes to use Justin Fields on the run. He uses them a lot, and Justin Fields likes to scramble,
Mm-hmm.
and he's quick. He'll get you those yards, and so it's gonna be a good challenge for him. It's gonna be a
I
good challenge for him.
think I like the matchup because like with the rushing offense, the rushing defense, with the Browns and the Bears. But I think that they're gonna give him trouble. He's a rookie quarterback. The quarterbacks this year haven't done much, and they've been playing some good defense or some not insane defenses. Zach Wilson struggled insanely against the Patriots, and the Browns have a more talented defense than the Patriots for sure. And so to have that, it's going to be interesting to see how Justin Fields performs. I think the only bright spot about this is that the Browns never blow any teams out. They beat the Texans by maybe 10.
Yeah, they almost
10
lost
points?
to the Texans.
And they almost lost because Tyrod Taylor got injured, and so Davis Mills had to play. So they almost beat the Chiefs though. So I really have no grip on how good the Browns are. Roster wise, they're a top 3, top 4 roster because their roster is insane. But I just don't know. I think that score predictions, I'd say probably 30 to 24 us. Where would they beat us?
I think that's too high because I think that's going to be all defensive game. I think
It's
there's
all
just
gonna
going
be
to be
defensive?
defense both sides. So I think it's going to be low scoring. I think it's going to be like 21-17. I think it's gonna,
21-17?
I think it's going to be really low scoring.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna note this now. If we do lose against the Browns, I think that we're only going to lose because of Matt Nagy. Because I think that Matt Nagy, if he doesn't know how to utilize Justin Fields right, then that's just gonna be failure for us.
Yeah.
And I could see Matt Nagy being Matt Nagy and him being the cause to our loss by his play calling and by his decisions that he makes in games. So just keep note of that for next week, because most likely I'm about to come back next week, and then I'm about to be flaming Matt Nagy for some stupid play call or
Yeah.
stupid play that he ended up doing.
I could
Stupid
see
play
it,
design.
honestly, but hopefully not. Hopefully not.
Hopefully not, but I mean, it's Matt Nagy.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys for listening to the Shy Bears Blitz podcast. Be sure to follow us on all social media. Thank you guys for supporting the shows. We'll be back with you early next week talking about the results of the Browns versus the Bears game. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.